Hi, this is Michael Buffer, and welcome to the BoxHard Podcast.
Hello, everyone. This is Mikey Garcia.
This the monster from the swamps, Regis Rougarou Program.
Hey, what's up? This is King Carlos Molina, former IBF world champ.
This is Michael, the Bounty Hunter, 2012 Olympian and your people's champ.
This is Charlie Edwards, flyweight champion of the world.
This is Fast Eddie Chambers, and you're listening to the BoxHard Podcast with my main man, Joey Coastman.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 467 of the BoxHard Podcast. I'm your host, Joey Coastman. I'm joined, as ever, by former heavyweight world title challenger, the main man himself, Mr. Fast Eddie Chambers. Eddie, how you doing this week?
I'm doing great, my man. How about you?
Always good when speaking with you, Eddie. Let's dive straight in. There is a lot, of course, to review. We're going to start here. Last Friday at the Free Arena in Dublin, Ireland. Over here, like I say, Friday the 20th of September. We saw on the undercard Thomas Carty move to 9-0, a TKO for him in the second against Jonathan Vergara, now 6-2. The main event, though, was Callum Walsh, now 12-0, a KO win for him in the second round against Prism Ranowski, who's now 22-3 with a draw. The first time, though, that he's been stopped, like I say, down in the second round. His other two losses came to Josh Kelly and Michael McKinson, both on points, and Callum Walsh gets him out of there, so that is impressive there for the WBC Continental America's Super Welterweight title. Moving now to the Desert Diamond Arena. This one went down a few hours later on the Friday. It went down, like I say, in Glendale, Arizona. We saw Emiliano Vargas move to 12-0, a TKO for him in the fifth against Larry Friars, now 13-7 with a draw. We also saw Richard Torres Jr. move to 11-0. He won in the fifth round after Joey Dubois was disqualified. He's now 28-12 with 4 draws. Dubois disqualified for repeatedly spitting out his mouthpiece. That one for the NABF Junior heavyweight title. Jaime Munguia now 44-1. A KO win for him in the 10th round against Eric Bazinian, now 32-1 with a draw. Like I say, he loses his O. He did very well to get to that 32-0 with a draw record at one stage. Again, I can't offer too much here from what I've heard. I heard that Bazinian had a couple of kind of good rounds at the start of the fight. Then Munguia warmed into it and does what he does, or did what he does, I should say. Started to put the pressure on Bazinian and take the fight to him. And Bazinian just, like I say, like I kind of expected, really. He was going to get got to as the fight went on, and that is what Munguia did. He wore him down from what I've heard. Moving now to the Colisée de Laval in Quebec, Canada. Over here, Jean Pascal now 37-7 with a draw. I saw the stoppage. It was a KO in the 10th and final round for Jean Pascal against the previously undefeated Terry Osias, who's now 13-1. That one for the vacant WBO NABO Cruiserweight title. Again, Jean Pascal being up at Cruiserweight just doesn't feel right. But Jean Pascal, I say cruiserweight, they agreed to a catch weight of like 189 pounds or something like that. So Pascal came in at that, and Osias actually came in just under 188. So, obviously an agreed weight there between the two guys. But Jean Pascal, I'm pretty sure, was behind on the cards, I believe, when he pulled the stoppage out the bag seemingly from nowhere in the 10th and final round. It was a hell of a knockout. A lot of people saying it has to be shortlisted for KO of the year. There are a few contenders. There's another contender that I'm sure we're going to be talking about in just a few moments' time. Let's move to that card now at the Wembley Stadium in London, United Kingdom. It was live on DAZN pay-per-view, live on TNT pay-per-view, on Sky Sports pay-per-view, and various other channels across the world. Let's touch on the undercard. Let's start right down the bottom of the card. The previously undefeated Mark Chamberlain was 16-0. He was 1-14 to win. A massive favourite, meaning you've got to put £14 down just to win £1. Though he did get in with the undefeated Josh Padley, who was about a 10-1 underdog. He was 14-0, but hadn't really, been in with anyone of the level of Mark Chamberlain. Anywhere really near that level, and there was nothing to kind of look at on his record that would make you think that Chamberlain would struggle with him. But Chamberlain down in the 8th round, and also after that had a point deducted in round 9 for pushing. Personally, I don't like seeing points being deducted for pushing. In my opinion, I think that's a bit mad. But, it does happen. It reminds me of Amir Khan and Lamont Peterson, but that's another story. Massive upset, and you've got to just completely, take your hat off to Josh Padley for springing that upset there. He's got a small team that obviously believed in him coming to the fight on Saturday night in Wembley. That corner were very confident. I noticed that obviously it's the same gym as the likes of Maxie Hughes, the likes of Jason Cunningham. Those guys have pulled off upsets in the past, so it was another one of them. Like I say, credit to all those guys. I think Maxie Hughes was in that corner. Credit to all those guys. Like I say, they know how to upset the odds, and Josh Padley did it and now deserves a massive fight after that. Mark Chamberlain, I think, was world ranked and everything, so yeah, that's just a crazy turnout for him, to think that he was kind of in the run-in to be getting into a massive, I suppose, massive money fight against the likes of Sam Noakes. That's now off the table following his defeat over the weekend. What else did we have? Hamza Shiraz moved to 21-0, a TKO for him in just the second round against Tyler Denny, now 19-3 with 3 draws. That one was for the Commonwealth, the WBC silver, and the EBU European middleweight titles. Denny down in the first round. I think it was pretty much from the first punch that Hamza Shiraz landed after about 5 seconds. And then, like I say, Denny down once again prior to the stoppage in the second. There's not too much to say about it, really, in terms of how the fight actually played out. Obviously, Hamza Shiraz does like to start fast, and I think the punch that put Denny down, straight away was really like a warning shot. Denny managed to get through that round, which wasn't easy, because Hamza Shiraz, like I say, if he puts you down, he's going to go in for the kill, and he did start to load up from that point there. And Tyler Denny got through the round. I thought perhaps he's weathered the storm, but obviously, Shiraz still wanted to try and take him out when the second round began, and that he did. So he extends his unbelievable KO streak, and unfortunately, Tyler Denny's fairy tale boxing dream has come to an end now, which is very, very sad. I'm not saying that, he can't come again, but he was on a heck of a run. He upset the odds a few times on that run that he had, and Hamza Shiraz has been the man to put that to an end. I expected a few rounds. I thought we might see the fight go a few rounds just because of Denny's experience, and also the fact that obviously, he's a tough kid. But Hamza Shiraz just had a bit too much for him, and he looked very good once again. It's scary to think where he could get to. I just want to see him in with, some of the more kind of, I guess, bigger names, stiffer tests at 160. What else did we have on the card? Josh Kelly moved to 16-1 with a draw, a majority decision win against the previously undefeated Ishmael Davis, now 13-1. That one was over 12 rounds there for Josh Kelly. Credit to Ishmael Davis, he stepped in late notice and all that. But I just didn't feel like the fight was that close, like the scorecards were. And all 3 scorecards were close. Like I say, one of them had a draw. But for me, it was a fight that I thought Josh Kelly dominated. I mean, he was excellent in every area. He was countering, he was evading shots, he was leading off, his jab was good, his hand speed was good, his punch variation and footwork. his overall movement. I thought he won the fight quite easily, but I do feel for Davis, to lose his O in that fashion, like I say, on late notice and all the rest of it. I'm sure that he probably got paid quite nice for it, but he had a really good final round, Ishmael Davis. That was obviously a big round for him. Kelly had a torrid final round due to a bad cut that he picked up, I think, on his right eye, if I'm not mistaken, and he said after the fight he couldn't see out of one of his eyes for the final round there, and it happened early in the round as well. And obviously Ishmael Davis started to smell blood, he could see blood, and he was going after it. And he closed the show really, really strongly. But I felt that Kelly already had the fight in the bag and was pretty much cruising at that point. But like I say, good win for Kelly, good name again. Perhaps a rematch down the line between these guys could be interesting I'm not that bothered about seeing it again, but it's just an option, I suppose. But Ishmael Davis, I do think he does deserve another chance on the big stage. I'd like to see him again. What else do we have? Anthony Kakachi moved to 23-1, a unanimous decision over 12 rounds for him against Josh Warrington, who was moving up in weight, who was a clear underdog, now 31-4 with a draw. That one was for the IBO Super Featherweight World title. Like I say, unanimous decision over 12 for Anthony Kakachi. I didn't see all of this fight, but I did think that Josh Warrington probably did enough. The bits I did see, I thought he was excellent, particularly going to the body. Felt like his hand speed as well was causing issues for Kakachi. His combinations was also, causing issues for Kakachi. But yeah, Warrington's bodywork, I think it went underappreciated as well from the probably the judges and probably even the commentary team. He was smashing the body of Kakachi. Kakachi obviously looked the much bigger man in there and seemed to have the heavier hands when he did land a good shot, and I think Warrington took a few big shots, showed a good chin. But yeah, very, very close fight. Probably could have gone either way. Like I say, I wasn't really scoring it strictly, but yeah, mad fight, and it was a good fight. It wasn't guaranteed to be a great fight. It wasn't guaranteed to be, fight of the night. But I think it probably exceeded expectations. I felt it was a really good fight there. And if that is going to be it for Josh Warrington, which I'm not entirely sure if he's come to a full final decision just yet, but if that is to be it, then he goes out. He goes out on his own terms, I suppose, and he still is a very capable fighter. He showed that the other night against a much bigger man in Kakachi, in Kakachi's first defense. What else did we have once again? Josh Buatsi, now 19-0. Again, Eddie, I don't know what you saw of this card. I'm sure you saw the main event. I don't know if you saw anything of the undercard. If you did, you're more than welcome to jump in. But Josh Buatsi, now 19-0, a split decision win over 12 rounds against Willie Hutchinson, now 18-2. That one for the WBO interim light heavyweight world title. Willie Hutchinson down in the 6th, also down in the 9th, and also had a point deducted for use of the head in the 7th. Great fight. I really thought it was a great fight. Quite tactical early on, and I felt that Buatsi... Well, in fact, let me go and look at my scorecard, because I felt that Buatsi started quite nicely. Then as the rounds went on, aside from the rounds where, Willie was being put down, he was actually having good rounds. And, there was moments in the fight where I felt he hurt Buatsi, and Buatsi wasn't reacting great to his shots. At some points in the fight as well, I thought that Buatsi was kind of freezing when he was being hit a little bit. In the end, my scorecard was 114-111 for Buatsi. So I'm just going to run through these rounds. I gave the first round to Hutchinson. I gave the next two to Buatsi. I gave the next two to Hutchinson. Then the next two to Buatsi again. I gave round 8 to Hutchinson. I gave round 9 to Buatsi. That was another 10-8 round. I gave round 10 to Buatsi. Then I gave the last two, which was 11 and 12, to Hutchinson. So in the end, I had it about 6-6, but then obviously the point deductions and the knockdowns and stuff obviously wind up in the end having it 114-111. those 2 10-8 rounds back-to-back for Buatsi in 6 and 7 probably lost Willie Hutchinson the fight, because the knockdown, then the point deduction, was very tough to come back from, because up at that point, I would have had him a point up, and then obviously he goes on to lose 2 10-8, so all of a sudden he's lost 4 points, or he's trailing by 4 points just in 2 rounds, so that was bad. The scorecards all night from the judges were pretty off, I felt. Obviously, this was a split decision for Buatsi, and a lot of people are outraged about that one. How on earth can you give the fight to Willie Hutchinson after being, on the receiving end of 3 10-8 rounds? I don't quite understand how the judge came up with that. I can't remember which judge it was, but like I say, really good fight. Buatsi did say at Willie Hutchinson's age, I wasn't as good as him, I think he said. I'm pretty sure, I don't want to get anything wrong, but I'm pretty sure he said that when I was his age, I wasn't as good as what he was tonight. So credit from Buatsi there, giving Willie Hutchinson credit as well in those comments. Good fight. I think Buatsi has now proved he is the man domestically for well, I say that, he still needs to fight Anthony Yarde, but that is the final step out of all of our British light heavyweights. Like, it is undoubtedly now between Yarde and Buatsi, in my opinion. I've always been a Yarde man in a Yarde man in that battle. I've always been a team Yarde kind of. That's my viewpoint. I think Yarde will win that fight. And I've always felt that. So I don't think any different. Like I say, I think that Buatsi was buzzed a few times by Hutchinson. I think that, if he was taking a shot off of Anthony Yarde, he probably will be a hell of a lot more than buzzed. But I'd hope we do see that fight. It would be a great shame if that one never ends up happening. There's still, at that point in their careers, I think, where, if they were to, the loser's not completely done. So yeah, great fight. Hopefully we see it. And obviously the main event, Eddie, Daniel Dubois, now 22-2, a KO win in the 5th round against Anthony Joshua, now 28-4. It was a defense of Dubois' IBF heavyweight world title. Joshua down 4 times in the end. 1 in the 1st, 1 in the 3rd, 1 in the 4th, and 1 in the 5th. And it was obviously, the 5th round knockdown in which he was, down and out, couldn't beat the count at all. And what a shot to end things. I called it, Eddie. I did call it, and not many people did. But I called it, if you remember correctly. But talk me through the fight.
Yeah, man, you absolutely called it. And, there was always a chance that could happen, where he just couldn't take the punches. But I also felt that if he was able to, get his jab going, actually box with an actual game plan, because it didn't necessarily look like well, to be honest, I don't know how much of a chance he really had to box with a game plan, because Daniel was on his ass right away. And it was crazy. It's like every punch that he threw was bothering him, from what I saw. And I know there's so many people that called me at the time that it happened. And truthfully, I didn't see it actually live right then, because I was in the middle of doing my normal thing. I forgot about the time difference. So I ended up, I'm getting people calling me, telling me the damn result, and I wanted to see it myself, but whatever. So I ended up watching it after. But Joshua's punch selection was just so bad, especially when he got caught and actually the fight ended. It's like, in the past I've seen, he showed a little bit, some decent IQ at times. He's, his punch selection seemed to be kind of sound depending on who he was fighting. I mean, he would throw uppercuts at the right time. He seemed to throw hooks. It's, just normal IQ stuff that you would do as a fighter. But I don't know if it was because Daniel was connecting and landed so many shots and he was kind of discombobulated even at the time, that I think he actually started to get a little, have a little success with the right hand when he, when he hit him and he went back and then ended up getting knocked out after. I'm figuring, okay, he's gonna, he's starting to have a little success, and maybe after, maybe he's gonna, start gaining, gaining some ground in this fight. boy, was I wrong. Because the moment he landed what was probably his best punch of the fight, he walks into Daniel's best punch, which actually put him down and out for the rest of the night. And it's like the shot he threw at that moment. I even watched George Foreman's sons, I guess George Foreman the third or whatever. He put on his I can't remember what was on his whether it was Instagram or whatever, and he put one of the main things I tell my guys is do not throw an uppercut to start. Like, you don't throw an uppercut, especially from the outside, to start, and unless it is a counter punch, you wouldn't. And I tell the same exact thing to my guys. You never want to start with an uppercut, because it's such a open shot if you think about it in a way that it is, designed to go. It's that punch in particular is supposed to be, especially if you're starting with it, it's supposed to be a counter punch or something, or a punch that kind of changed the pace or changed the angle, or when you're in close, you bring it through the guard, because sometimes you can't get the hooks around, you can't get the jabs through or whatever. You just bring the uppercut down the middle, especially the right uppercut. But even the left uppercut should not be necessarily thrown to start unless it's utilized from a angle of where your head's not on the line. Like, you slip over to the left and then throw your left uppercut up the middle with a right hand left hook behind it. Those types of things should be done as a slip into, not necessarily just right from there. You don't stand right in front of somebody and throw a shot that opens you up. It's just, boxing 101, you would think somebody in his position would know that. And it's not to say he didn't know that. Maybe he was just so desperate to end the fight because it was going so badly for him at that time. And it just looked like, and then all of a sudden he lands a big shot and he's like, oh, all right, I'm going to go in there. I'm going to try to get this guy out of there. And the next shot you throw gets you knocked out. And what's worse is he got caught with a right hand right before that. And then he chooses to throw a right uppercut when he just got hit with a clean right hand. It probably hurt him a little bit, or not necessarily hurt him that much, but probably got his attention again. And then he goes and throws a right uppercut it just doesn't make sense. And it wasn't even like Daniel was necessarily leaning to that side. He kind of did lean a little bit that way as he was throwing his right hand. But man, it's just like, I can go on all day about this, so I'm going to stop here. But all in all, I'm not saying that Daniel didn't do his thing. He absolutely did. He took care of business. He said he did what he intended to do. He came in there and he actually stopped the guy. And it's a hell of a win for Daniel. He obviously had a couple of good wins. He's been on a pretty good run now. Now he's really starting to look like not only just a contender, but somebody who, and even with, if you think about it, even with Usyk, when he fought Usyk, he was doing pretty well before the stoppage, before the stoppage. And actually, arguably, if you really want to make a case for it, could say he stopped Usyk for real with the body shot, even though they called it low. So, it's looking up for him in a major way. I know there's a lot of people talking about what the next match is, next matchup for him is going to be. It's really, like I said, looking real good. He's going to get a hell of a lot of opportunity to make some money in the near future, and his legacy is starting to even look better. So I'm happy for him. It's great to see that. As for Anthony Joshua, man, he was on the highest of highs at that point before, knocking out Ngannou, even though, that's, he should have been expected. But then also the fight with the guy before, what's his name again, Joe? Wallen was, and then I didn't notice before the fight, but, he had been his sparring partner and he known him really well. I think they fight in amateurs or something like that too. I think he really had he known him pretty well. So there was really no fear or no expectations that it was going to be really that difficult for him to beat him either. So, and then when I look at that, and then you look at the two wins and then you say, okay, well, I'm expecting him to be able to go in there and beat Daniel, but it's really not like he was really on that high of or that good of a run. Even though he had won, I think, his last 3 to 4 fights up to that point, it wasn't against the kind of competition that Dubois was going against. You know what I mean? And I just think that, Joshua, it seems like he has trouble with guys who come in and want to let them hands go. The same thing happened with him and Ruiz, but it seemed like with the second fight, Joshua did better in box, but he just doesn't like it. And obviously, Daniel got some heavy ass hands, so unfortunately for Joshua, it's looking a little rough. I don't know where he goes from here. You know what I mean? I'm hoping for him that something decent can come in. Maybe he made a lot of money already, so but maybe something decent come in, maybe getting back on track. But I'm not sure, man. It's just looking really crazy for him right now, and but. Great fight, great card. I didn't really see much of it, but great fight anyway. Looking forward to see what's going to happen with Daniel in the future, though.
Yeah, I can't really add too much to what you've said, to be totally honest, Eddie. Everything that you said there pretty much was the things I was banging on about last week. Everyone thought I was crazy. There weren't many people picking Dubois. I saw straight through Joshua's most recent performances, and I looked at Daniel Dubois' most recent performances under a very fine microscope, and I saw a lot more in Dubois' wins than I saw in AJ's wins. And I called it. I don't want to keep banging on about it. Daniel Dubois was clinical when he needed to be the other night. I was very, very impressed. I think Don Charles once again has been such a secret weapon for him. They're just a fantastic pairing. What else can we say? Obviously Anthony Joshua did catch Dubois just before he got himself knocked out. He did catch Dubois with a big right hand, and he rolled the dice. He gambled and left his chin in the air, walked into a shot, getting greedy, and it was at a point in the fight where I think probably Anthony Joshua needed to take a risk, but maybe not quite in the way that he did. I understand that, and I appreciate the tactical breakdown that you've provided, Eddie. Really, really good, exciting fight though. Like I say, again, there's going to be people shortlisting that for KO of the year. It was a brutal finish. He was completely down and out. But again, I'm not surprised at all. I picked this to happen in my betting group. I'm really happy for Daniel Dubois. I think he's a good role model. He's a good champion. He's a nice man, and I'm just really happy to see this happen for him. Again, I've already expressed this. I think if he were to rematch Joe Joyce, I think he'd stop Joyce. And the only man he maybe can't beat in the world right now is Alexander Usyk, because that's the only man he's been in the ring with and has lost to that I'm not entirely sure he could beat in a rematch. Though I do think he'd beat Joe Joyce. So in my opinion, he's right up there now. Obviously, he's a champion, so he should be right up there now, but he deserves to be right up there now from his previous few performances. What else can we say? Tyson Fury obviously is right up there as well. A lot is rolling on, or a lot is riding on what's going to happen when he boxes Usyk in that rematch in December. But Dubois will be there to pick up the pieces, I think, and Joshua will also be trying to pick up those crumbs. They've already said that if Fury loses, then they want to make Fury Joshua next. That'd be another massive money fight for Anthony Joshua. But I do feel like he's at this point in his career now where he is finished. I don't think that we're going to see anything fantastic from him at this point. I don't see a way how he picks up a belt either at the minute. He won't beat Usyk, and I don't think he'll beat Dubois at all. I don't think he'll beat Tyson Fury if Tyson Fury were to be able to dethrone Usyk in December. I can't see a way in for him right now, and I think there's a few of the guys as well that I would pick to either beat him or at least provide a very, very hard night's work for Anthony Joshua. Those guys are the likes of Zhilei Zhang, Joseph Parker. I'm not entirely sure that I would pick Deontay Wilder to beat Joshua. I don't think he's that far gone. But again, I wouldn't be opposed to seeing that fight finally, though I think both men fumbled the bag, as they say, on that one, unfortunately. And it was a fight that we needed, to happen when the iron was hot. The iron now is very much cold on both sides, unfortunately. Anyway, we could go on, and like I say, Eddie done quite a fine job of breaking down what we saw on Friday night. But epic win for Daniel Dubois. Very happy for him. He thoroughly deserves it. And Anthony Joshua could perhaps be done. Let us know what you think on social media at BoxHard Podcast. That brings the review part to a close. It's now time to welcome this week's special guest. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Portsmouth's very own welterweight contender. It is, of course, Mr. Mikey McKinson. Mikey, welcome back on the show, my friend.
Thanks for having me back.
It's always my pleasure, Mikey. So we last spoke back in January of 2023. It's been a little while. How have things been since then, my friend?
Things have been good since January. I've had January 23, so that's 18 months ago. Yeah, I've had 3 fights since then. I've stopped 2 of them.
in a row.
Yeah, so yeah, just putting a few more doubts to bed. But yeah, things are going well. It's been a slow 2024. It's been a very, very long year for me with no date. But we've got something now. Obviously, it's huge. It's something I've known about since back in May. It was just about getting the date. Then it got pushed back a little bit. Then it got delayed a bit more. But finally, we got a date, October 19th. And yeah, can't wait for it.
Absolutely. We'll get to it in just a moment. In the time that we haven't spoke, like we say, you've racked up 3 wins. I do just want to cast your mind back to May 24th of this year at York Hall. Your brother Lucas boxed Casey Benjamin. Yes. What a brilliant fight that was to watch, Mikey.
Yeah, it was great, him stepping up to welterweight. So not only did he step up a weight class, he also stepped up levels in fighting Casey Benjamin. And I think he was 3-1 underdog with the bookies, and yeah, he turned up and completely ruined the script. Boxed really well for 9 rounds. The last round was a bit horrific. But overall, yeah, fair play on him. He got a great win.
It was a great win. It was a great fight. But yeah, the last round was a bit mad, as you say. He's been so underrated, I think, Lucas, in his career. I'm hoping that was maybe a bit of a breakout win. Obviously, you say moved up in weight, moved up in levels. It was a great win.
Yeah, I've been saying it like a while now. Him moving up to welterweight would be the best thing for him. He used to get down in weight, but I know his performance would be better at a higher weight. So now he's up at welterweight. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of success for Lucas.
Good stuff. Back onto yourself. You're talking to me live from Philadelphia. What's brought you out there, Mike?
Like I said, it's been a long summer. We were actually out in New York about 8 weeks ago. And then when we were out there, I was getting good sparring and stuff. And then I got the call saying, it's been pushed back. The fight's been pushed back. And then it got pushed back again. But so it's been kind of like a long camp. I've been able to rest better. I've been able to pace it better. But obviously, as we're getting closer now, big shout out to my sponsors, HSBM, for sending me back out to the States. Me and my dad are out here in Philly. Getting unbelievable sparring, as you can probably see from my social media. But yeah, it's been great. We're only on day 2, and it feels like I've been here ages.
What was the sparring like in New York as well? Did you spar some big names down there as well?
Not so much big names. Like a lot of fighters that people probably won't ever heard of. But it was unbelievable rounds. A couple of real good prospects coming through as well in the States. I sparred a Nahir Albright, who boxing fans over in the UK may have heard of. he boxed Keyshawn Davis last year. So when I was out in New York, I got some rounds with him. But yeah, obviously out here in Philly, day one, turned up to Vergil Ortiz's gym with my dad, and I did 6 rounds with Boots. Not only 6 rounds, they do 4-minute rounds over here. So straight into the deep end, but unbelievable experience to be mixing with Boots, and it's only gonna help me develop. So yeah, it's great.
Now, this is so interesting because obviously, Boots and Vergil Ortiz were for such a long time linked and talked about. You've now sparred
I know
Boots.
what you're going to ask me.
Yeah, go on.
I know what you're going to ask me. Obviously, I've shared a ring with both of them. Both great talents. Both huge, both strong. But I just feel the difference is the skill set that Boots brings, because he's got everything else. He's got as much power as Vergil. He's just as big as Vergil. But he has a lot of skill that comes with it. And both unbelievable fighters, but I just feel like Boots probably the best fighter I've shared a ring with.
Wow, that's massive. That is massive. Well, there you go. You can't get higher praise than that. Talking of the gym, obviously Bosey's gym. What's the gym like? Is it old school? How does it compare to the UK gyms?
Yeah, very old school, as you could imagine. Bosey's Dungeon, as they call it. But I've only been here 2 days. Yesterday we turned up and I managed to spar. Today I was just working alongside Boots, and yeah, it's good. Sean Porter was in there today. So yeah, great experience being out here and learning from great fighters. And like I said, it's only going to bring me on.
And how long are you out there for, Mikey? Just because, obviously, I'm assuming that it's probably not the most ideal situation to be sparring, obviously on a completely different time zone. Kind of as part of someone else's camp when you've got your own fight.
Yeah, well, I will be out here till the 6th, and then back home, taper, and get ready for Tulani Mbenge. Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, let's talk about that. You'll be boxing Tulani Mbenge October 19th, as you say, at the Copper Box, as part of that Adam Azim O'Hara Davies undercard. What do you know about Mbenge, Mikey? I've known about him for a couple of years. Decent fighter.
Yep.
Not a big name.
Yes. Not a big name. He's obviously held the IBO previously. He is ranked above me in every organisation and every ranking that I can see. So he's definitely a world threat. He's tall, he's rangy, he's strong, he's slick. He's a very good fighter. And he's obviously operated at this kind of level before. His 2 defeats have come in Paris against the WBC #1 Sissoko over a split decision over 12 rounds. So, as you can imagine, he won that fight. And then the other one, I think, many years ago, he lost in Germany to Formella, and you can kind of see what I'm going to say with that one. Boxing Formella in Germany, you have to knock him out to win, don't you? So, you can argue the case for both of his defeats, razor thin in the guy's home countries. So yeah, he's definitely the hardest opponent I would have been in the ring with, other than Ortiz. So yeah, it's good to be back at this level.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when he stopped Miguel Vasquez. That was probably the sort of time I first was hearing about Mbenge. Obviously, a big puncher.
Yeah.
Not many people.
He defended the IBO when he stopped Miguel Vasquez. So it's a title that he's aiming to regain.
Yeah, exactly. And like you correctly said, the 2 losses were very close in his opponent's backyards. So yeah, are we going to see, well, I don't want you to give nothing away, but obviously he's a big puncher. Are we going to see sort of those smooth boxing skills and maybe not such a come forward aggressive style that we've seen in a couple of your last 3?
Listen, I'm over the last few fights, I've shown that there is other sides of me if needed. But people got to remember as well, I've always got that IQ if needed too. So it's good to be able to show I'm not just a one-trick pony. Whatever it takes to win, I will do. I'm out here preparing with the best welterweight on the planet. So yeah, I mean business.
And I wanted to get your reaction as well. We've kind of flown through everything really here. I wanted to get your reaction, of course, to the weekend, man. Joshua Dubois. What did you make of it? And what should both men do next, Mikey?
Do you know what? I went up there as well. Because I thought I was going to have boxed by now. So like, me and my girlfriend, we went up to watch. Unbelievable show. Riyadh season is really changing the game. And fair play to Dubois, 27 years old, going there, big underdog and knocking out Joshua. So props to him. To be fair, walked through him. Like, do you know what I mean? From the very first bow, stuck it on him and walked through him. So fair play to Daniel Dubois.
Yeah, brilliant win. What do you feel both men should do next, Mikey?
I don't know. Obviously, it depends if Joshua activates the rematch clause, doesn't it? There's obviously the big fight in December between Usyk and Fury. So Dubois really deserves the winner of those guys. So there's lots of heavyweights. Like in the top 10, you look at the top 10 and they're all worthy for fighting for the belt. So there's lots of big fights out there for Dubois now, and he's deserved it. Where Joshua goes from here, who knows? Who knows? Like, but there's big money fights. The heavyweight division's unbelievable for names, so it's big fights from both.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's a bright future for Dubois, and it's question marks for Anthony Joshua at the moment, I feel.
That's it. No one knows, only he knows. Do you know what I mean? One of those.
Yeah, and like I say, still a massive name, of course. Just before we wrap things up, Mikey, I just want to throw it back over to you if you've got any closing words that you want to sign out with. Like I say, it's always brilliant having you on, and it's just a shame it's been so long. It's my fault.
Yeah, it's mad. Been 18 months, but yeah, obviously it's been a slow year. So big up my sponsors for sticking with me without any fight news. Big up to my supporters and my people at Portsmouth as well for really showing love and coming out to support me for this fight. I'm really got my head down at the moment and really putting in the work. So you'll all see the sacrifices pay off on October 19th.
We cannot wait to see you in the ring again at this type of level, Mikey, believe me. As always, the pleasure's mine. Thank you for your time. Best of luck for that date, and we'll speak again soon, my friend.
Brilliant, thank you.
Okay, now it's time for part 2 on this week's show. This part, of course, the news part of the show. We're going to start here with this. Matchroom have announced a card to go down in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, right in Eddie's neck of the woods. It's going to be November the 9th, like I say. We're going to see a rematch between Jaron Ennis and Karen Chikadzian for the IBF welterweight world title. Chikadzian has been made the mandatory, as far as I'm aware. Obviously, Ennis beat Chikadzian back in 2023. So they're going to be rematching, which will be, I think, 20 months after their first fight, because Chikadzian's come back with 3 wins since then. On the undercard, we're going to see Jesse Bam Rodriguez stepping in with Pedro Guevara. We're also going to see return to the ring for Raymond Ford, and also Khalil Coe on the card as well. Austin Amo Williams on the card. Ernesto Mercado on the card. Should be a really, really good card there in Philly. Again, the date for that is November the 9th. I just want to double check that we don't have any more news, because I'm not entirely sure that we have any more. No, I think that is about it, I would say, for the news. Moving on now to the preview part of the show. We're going to start here with this one. It goes down tomorrow, Friday the 27th of September at the York Hall in Bethnal Green, London. It's going to be live on Channel 5. Friend of the show, former WBC flyweight world champion. He's on the podcast intro every week. Charlie Edwards, 19-1. It's going to be a bit of a mad fight, this, because it's for the EBU European Bantamweight title. Charlie Edwards, 19-1, former champion, stepping in the ring with Thomas Essomba, who's 13-8 with a draw. Thomas Essomba is managed by Sonny Edwards, the brother of Charlie Edwards. So there's a lot on the line here for the Edwards brothers. So they're kind of going to be in opposite corners, really, for the first time. Obviously, they've had kind of like a, I don't want to say love-hate relationship, the brothers, over the years, but they've had a lot of back and forths and stuff. I think some of it, or mostly all of it, really was playful stuff. But yeah, it's going to be weird. Charlie boxing against Sonny's charge here. And Thomas Essomba, I tell you what, if you underestimate him, or you turn up thinking you're gonna have a nice easy night's work, he's gonna make you work for that win. So if Charlie Edwards has cut any corners in training and anything like that, which I don't think he would have done, by the way, it's going to be a hard night. Thomas Essomba's a lot better than his record suggests, and he really can be a hard night's work for anybody. So Charlie is going to need to be on it, I think, here, and his inactivity and stuff hasn't helped him. Could be a good one there on Channel 5. So again, looking forward to that. This card goes down at the Park Community Arena in Sheffield, Yorkshire, United Kingdom. Again, I don't think this is even going to be on TV. Maybe you can perhaps stream it somehow. I'm not entirely sure about the details of that, but it's a good card here going down in Sheffield. Like I say, we're going to see Reese Mould, 18-2, coming off that very close loss to what's his name now? What's his name now? Irish guy. Completely forgot his name. Anyway, Reese Mould, 18-2, stepping in with Ryan Walsh, who's been quite inactive, 28-4 with 2 draws these days. That's going to be an interesting fight there, I think. Good one there. Also on the card as well, we're going to see Tycee Gallagher, 8-2, stepping in with the undefeated Tori Ellis Willits, who's 5-0. That's over 10 twos at Super Bantam for the Commonwealth Super Bantamweight female title. Also on the card, Shaquille Thompson, 12-0, stepping in with River Wilson Bent, 17-4-2 for the IBF European and WBO Global Middleweight titles, over 10. We're also going to see friend of the show, friend of yours, Eddie, Hughie Fury, back in action, 28-3, back in an 8-rounder against Christian Fun, who is 9-1. Maxie Hughes as well on the card, 26-7 with 2 draws, back in a 6-rounder at lightweight against a guy called Eftathios Antonas, who's 7-2-2, and also Jack Bateson, 19-1 in a 6-rounder here at featherweight against Rakesh Loshab, who is 16-4 with a draw. Moving out now to this one. Again, all of this goes down tomorrow. It's a busy Friday. This one goes down in Atlanta, Georgia at the Lux Studios. Return to the ring for Alicia Baumgardner. She's been inactive for 14 months. Was she serving a ban in that time? I still think it's really unclear. This is what annoys me about boxing these days. Even as a member of the media myself, it's so hard to follow some of these stories. Like, it's so hard to follow boxing news. Literally, 2 people say completely opposing statements and you've got no idea what to go off. The rulings and all of it is so hard to follow. But anyway, Alicia Baumgardner back in the ring. She's 15-1. It's over 10 twos for the IBF, IBO, WBC and WBO Super Featherweight World titles against Delphine Persoon, 49-3. I haven't seen much of Persoon in the last few years. I know that she herself, I believe, has been inactive, but obviously she was a really good fighter a few years ago, and if she can maybe roll back the clock, or I don't know. You know, this could be a great fight, to be honest with you. And Alicia Baumgardner as well. What is she going to look like, you know, with no substances in her body, whether they were put in there by accident or not? This could be a great fight there. And I don't know how you can watch it, but I would like to find a way to watch it. If anyone knows how I can watch it, let me know. Moving now to this one again on Friday night. Again, there's so much boxing on Friday. This one goes down at the Madison Square Garden Theatre in New York. It's going to be live on ESPN. We have over here a few top-ranked prospects. Delonte Johnson back out again. Vito Mielnicki Jr. back out again. Rohan Polanco back out again. He steps in with Marcelino Lopez, who's 37-4 with a draw. Return to the ring for Elvis Rodriguez as well, 16-1-1. He's always in a good fight. Bruce Carrington, 12-0, back out again. Xander Zayas, 19-0, stepping in with Damian Sosa, 25-2. And the main event, two women. Sandy Ryan of the UK, 7-1-1, defending her WBO welterweight world title over 10-2s against friend of the show, former champion Michaela Mayer, 19-2. I don't think Michaela has boxed since she arguably beat Natasha Jonas. This is going to be a really good fight. I think if it's close, then Michaela Mayer is going to get it, you know, because obviously it's a top-ranked show, so I think she will get it if it's close. Sandy, for me, is the more classier boxer, the more classier fighter, but Michaela Mayer, you know, when she comes forward, she can be very, very aggressive. She can set a fast tempo, and she has the right kind of style to, you know, to take rounds, especially in the 2-minute rounds that we're going to see. So this is going to be really interesting. Mayer feels like she's got Sandy's number, and if I had to pick a winner, I'd probably go with Mayer. I think Mayer may be able to pull this one out the bag. We shall see. But Sandy Ryan, very, very good fighter, and it wouldn't surprise me either if she completely dominated Mayer behind the jab, and yeah, just boxed her way to a 10-round unanimous wide decision. So again, that could be very interesting there Friday night. Moving now to Saturday, this one goes down at the Almaty Arena in Kazakhstan. We're going to see Zankosh Turarov topping the bill, 28-0. He steps in with Jesus Correa Pinto, who's 16-0. That's over 12 there. On the undercard, by the way, return to the ring for the 2016 Olympic gold medalist Daniyar Yulusinov. He's currently 11-0. He retired, as far as I was aware, almost 3 years ago now. I don't know what has happened there, but he finds himself back in the ring at home in Kazakhstan, well away from the big DAZN and Matchroom boxing banners, and he steps in with Philippines' Joe Noine, who's 23-4 with 2 draws. He's upset the odds in the past. This is a big chance for Noine here. You know, Yulusinov coming off 3 years out. It's over 10 rounds there at welterweight. No easy touches in the comeback for Yulusinov. Moving now to the Park Community Arena in Sheffield, Yorkshire, United Kingdom. This one goes down on DAZN. Again, this is Saturday night. We're going to see... I'm not entirely sure if this fight's going ahead. It's still listed, but no opponent just yet. Galao Yafai 7-0, supposed to be boxing in an 8-rounder, but obviously he's been announced now to be boxing Sonny Edwards later on in the year, so I'm not entirely sure that's going to be going ahead. We do have on the card the Battle of the Georges. George Liddard 8-0 stepping in with George Davey 9-1-1 over 8 rounds. We're going to see Peter McGraw 9-1. He's a massive favourite. I'm not entirely sure why, against Brad Foster 15-3-2. Brad Foster probably should have 1 or 2 losses less on his slate because he has been unlucky. Peter McGraw with that brilliant amateur career, but obviously showed us that things can go wrong when he lost his O there out in the States. I'll never be able to forget that one. That was crazy. He's back here, like I say, it's a 10-rounder at super bantamweight. I wouldn't want to write Brad Foster off, But, Peter McGraw's the much classier boxer. Could be interesting. And also topping this bill, another women's world title clash. Rhiannon Dixon, the undefeated 10-0 female fighter, defending her WBO lightweight world title against Terri Harper, 14-2-2. Terri Harper has very much been quite hot and cold in recent times, but I am quite interested to see how she looks back at lightweight. I say back at lightweight, what I should have said really is back down the weights, because her weight has been all over the place. Obviously, we remember that she reigned quite supreme back at super featherweight, which was back in 2020. She looked quite good there as a champion, but obviously she was killing herself to make the weight. She got stopped by Baumgardner. Then obviously she moved from 130 pounds right up to 154, and she looked incredibly healthy at that weight. But unfortunately for her, when she really did step up in class and stuff, she got in with Cecilia Brackhouse, probably won that fight, but managed to, sadly for her, get a draw, and she moved down from 154 after that. That was a vacant title fight. She moved down to welterweight and boxed Sandy Ryan last time, and obviously got stopped by Sandy Ryan at welterweight. So she's moved down another 12 pounds from there, and she's now back at lightweight. So it's interesting, because she probably should have just moved up to lightweight from super feather before. But again, I'm really making a pig's ear of this, but to move from 130 to 154 was a bit mad now in hindsight, even though she looked fantastic on the scales at 154. She slowly moved back down from 154 to 147. She's now at 135. Maybe she shouldn't have even been anywhere else but 135 after moving up from 130. That's what I'm trying to say. So I'm intrigued to see how she looks, because she hasn't looked her old self, but at the same time, maybe she was just too high in the weights. Maybe it's going to be, a switching back of the clocks here. We'll have to wait and see, but it very much is a last chance saloon, I think, at this level for Terri Harper. Could be a good one. Moving now to the Sarasota in Florida. I don't know if that's a town in Florida or the name of the venue, but friend of the show, Craig Parker, he's 17-0 with 17 KOs. He's back in an 8-rounder at cruiserweight against Fernando Almeida, who's 10-10. All the best there to Craig Parker. Moving now to the Patapsco Arena in Baltimore, Maryland, USA. Over here, friend of the show, Dusty Hernandez Harrison, 36-0 with a draw, back in an 8-rounder at light heavyweight against Darian Austin, who's 11-1. All the best there to Dusty Hernandez Harrison. And that brings the preview part to a close. I've whizzed through it as quick as I could have. There was a lot to mention there, lots and lots of fights going on, especially on the Friday. We don't often see loads and loads of different cards on the Friday, but that's what we're getting this week. There's a lot going on the Friday night, on TV and off TV, and then a few fights on Saturday as well to keep your eyes on. So a lot of boxing at a lot of different levels in a lot of different countries this weekend. Anyway, that brings the preview part to a close. In part 1, we did the review part, then we welcomed our special guest. In part 2, we did the news. It was very brief, and we've just wrapped up the preview part there. The final thing for me to do is to come in with the outro, which I'll do in just a few seconds. Okay, and this wraps up episode 467 of the BoxHard Podcast. I've been your host, Joey Coastman. Eddie Chambers has been with me for the duration of the show. A massive shout out to this week's special guest, Portsmouth's very own welterweight contender, Mr. Michael McKinson. The biggest thanks of all goes out to you, the listeners. Thanks for tuning in once again. That is about everything now from myself. Enjoy your weekends, people. Stay safe, and we'll see you all again, same time next week.